Hello and welcome to this edition of Your Trades the Week Ahead. And what a manic week it has been. A 2% cut coming in for the Nifty. More importantly, we've broken below some key technical levels. So on Friday, we just about managed to defend that 55.50 mark, which incidentally we broke intraday as well. And huge amount of ETF selling too, and this seems to be just the start of it.
Yeah, sadly so. And more importantly, we also trying to determine or developed a trend, break lower when Europe opens and succumb to some selling pressure, and then therefore negative figures coming in. So yeah, looking worrying for the time being.
Oh yes, it sure is. So 2% cut coming in for both the Sensex as well as the Nifty on the weekly basis. It wasn't all that bad for the small and the mid-cap index on a net basis, wherein the small caps gained about 2% and the mid-cap index as well closed in the green, up by about 0.3% or so. The banking pack, the banking index rather, lost about almost 2%. FMCG, 3.2% cut coming in. Cap goods, IT, consumer durables, autos as well as metals were all your laggards. On the flip side, oil and gas and healthcare held out. Tata Motors, that was a key pressure point. HCL Technologies, TCS, Axis Bank, Ultratech Cement, NMDC, Bharti, Bajaj Auto, HDFC, Hero MotoCorp were all your losers. And good gains coming in from Maruti, more to do with the way the stock actually panned out on Friday. So that was a top-notcher. Dr. Reddy's, Kane, Sun Pharma, Ranbaxy as well as Reliance Infrastructure managed to close in the green over the week.
The contrasting trends for a lot of mid-cap spaces. So Sugar, for example, based on what they did in the last two sessions of the week, Thursday and Friday, had a fairly decent session. So for the week as well. So Balrampur, Renuka, Bajaj Hindustan, all of these ending the week with some very good gains, something that we haven't seen for a while in the sugar space. On the flip side, some of the consumption themes like Jubilant FoodWorks or maybe Jyoti Labs, a couple of these stocks didn't have the best of weeks, more so over the last 2 or 3 days, 8.5%, and these are not cuts that have usually happened for these stocks. So yeah, looked a bit wobbly in a session. I mean, mixed trends for infra, mixed trends for real estate, but those stocks are pretty much trading ideas, so not too much. A couple of extremely volatile stocks included Reliance Communications, on which there was a big announcement. So did very well for a couple of days and then gave off some of the gains, but ending up 15% higher. Adani Power being the other one, another newsmaker for the week, and great gains coming in for the stock when the news did come about, then maybe cooling off a little bit, but again, 11% for the week gone by. Let's get in our experts now to speak about what the markets are likely to do in the next week as well, and what to do with some of the specific names and specific stocks, specific news as well. Dr. C.K. Narayan, Sandeep Wagle with their sense of the charts. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining in. Dr. Narayan, it's been a week that actually showed that last Thursday's and maybe Monday's enthusiasm was very short-lived. 3 or 4 sessions we've fallen with high volumes as well, and maybe open up some key downside levels. What do we do in the week ahead? You think we are headed lower?
See, the market has actually responded, I think, with a little bit of caution, even though these, the Korea stuff and all was around at the start of the week. It's actually in the later part of the week that the market has fallen. And I think it's been triggered off by largely I would say one of the big triggers was the negative FI numbers. We've been so used to seeing positive FI numbers for so long that when about 2-3 days running we got these negative numbers, I think the market seems to have got pretty spooked. If you see the data of the week as a whole, 2% down for the Nifty, but then what is key is that the gainers of the week, if you take, let's say, something like Adani Power, or you have things like Arcom, etc., all the gainers, 10% gainers for the week, are the ones where there has been some specific news. Whereas the ones which have lost across the week have been pretty general and pretty widespread. So that says that the market players are being extremely cautious right now in what they want to buy. So this is not a market where people are venturing forth to buy. So such a cautious kind of approach will not really help build an uptrend very soon. So I think whatever uptrend we get is going to be pretty slow. If there is some news break now which is on the negative side, the market is ready to go down further. So 55.50 is a support. Below this, another 100 points down, somewhere around 54.50 would be support. On the upper side, I think 5700 would be difficult to top. 5750 is what I would put as the maximum. So right now, 5500 to 5700 is the range I would look for the next week.
Sandeep, a good spurt in Thursday's session before maybe just a flattish week in a flattish end to the week on Friday. But how does Coal India look on the charts?
Neeraj, I think a very strong support at 290, which probably will not be breached or may not be breached. But in case the Nifty gives way and we go down below 5400, then even that may not be held on to. But on the upside, I think 320, 330 will act as a very strong resistance. So I would talk of a range of 290 to 330. Certainly 330 doesn't seem like it will be crossed with a 4. So nearer that, some profit booking is warranted. It has already fallen from 375 to 300 levels. So I don't see too much of a downside, very less upside. Range bound within a 5-7% move is what I would talk of.
Dr. Narayan, a bit of a spurt on Thursday, continuing in Friday's session. Cooled off though from the highs of the day. How do you trade the sugar space? The couple of stocks that people usually do.
See, I think when it comes to sugar, most people are forced towards Sri Renuka Sugar because that's the sole surviving name in the future space. And if you look at Renuka, it's actually dropped down to the 2008-9 bottom. So that's like an absolute long-term bottom where it is bound to meet up with some sort of buying. Now this news is there, some buying will come. But I think if somebody is really interested in this piece of news and think that it will change the fortunes of the sugar sector, the real deal would be to buy something like EID Parry, which is at about 150, retraced down nicely into a 62% retracement. It's one of the better units, much better pedigree, let's say some FI ownership, etc. And much better managements, more steadier corporate governance, etc. You know, every which way it meets the criteria. So I would rather go and prospect in the B group than try my hand with anything out of the A group like Sri Renuka. Bajaj Hindustan and all is a goner. Balrampur keeps bouncing about. They may all be the larger units, but we have to make money. We got to go to the right stock. And I think the right stock in sugar space is EID Parry.
Okay, a thumbs up coming in for EID Parry. But the other set of newsmakers, of course, was the ADAG and Reliance pact as well, considering Reliance Communications signed a 1,200 crore pact with Reliance JIO. This was not really auguring well just for Reliance Communications, but the entire ADAG pact actually lifted up in trade. Sandeep, do you like any of the ADAG names?
Well, Arcom is a stock which I was liking. It has fallen to 55 levels. It has bounced back from 55 levels, and I see some more upside, provided the Nifty moves sideways. If the Nifty breaks and goes to 5400, probably even that may not sustain. But yes, in the whole space, I think Arcom is the best stock, and as a trading buy, I would recommend that for a limited upside of around 74, 75 at a current level of 63. Maybe a stop loss of around 57, 58 would do, and buy on declines in the range of 63 to 60.
And CK, want to bring you on some of these names, Adani Power as well as Tech Mahindra, and how would you go about trading these two names?
See, Adani Power had been drifting down and actually dropped down into some support, and that particular piece of news seems to have really galvanized it back into life, as it were. And I think even though there has been some weakened selling pressure by way of profit taking from old holders, I would say Adani Power at about 45 rupees is not really a bad deal for traders and investors in the week ahead. Of course, stocks like Adani Power and all need support of a good market to fare well. So if the market is I think fair, then sort of steady, I think Adani Power is something they should surely try their hand at. As far as Techchem is concerned, I think it's been facing some sort of selling from large institutional type of holding. That is the kind of feeling I actually get when I look at the charts, because the fall from about 1120 down to about 950 has been pretty steady and pretty consistent, not allowing the stock to really recover, and I don't think it's finished quite yet, even as we finish the week. So I'm not too sanguine about prospects of Tech Mahindra ahead. I would still use any rallies in the coming week to actually short the stock.
Okay, thanks for that, Dr. Narayan. Some mid-cap newsmakers in this week as well, 2 or 3 of them. Navneet has a list of these actually, and she joins us right now. Navneet, what were the top newsmakers?
Well, that's right. There were a lot of mid-cap stocks which were in news, and starting off with IGL, where the Supreme Court hearing, which was scheduled on April 4th, got deferred to April 16th after Supreme Court asked for certain more documents from IGL and also from the other gas companies taking their view on the case. Besides that, you had the stock which it surged about 10% in Friday's trading session after there was a buzz that there could be an out-of-court settlement between IGL and PNGRB, but our sources from PNGRB clearly stated that there was no chance of any kind of out-of-court settlement. But you saw the stock for the week also surging between 8 to 10%, and Dhanlakshmi Bank was the other stock which was in news as the QIP started during the week, where the bank raised about 70 crore rupees at a price of about 46.5 rupees per share. For the week, the stock of Dhanlakshmi Bank was down by about 3.5%. And lastly, it was Jennington India, where a negative news came up after the income tax department proposed a tax demand of about 138 crore rupees. But besides that, you had CRISIL, which revised the long-term bank facilities, the rating of that to A+ from the earlier rating of about AA negative. And you also had Nomura, which came out with its report on Rennington, maintaining its rating of buy, giving it a target price of about 115, which means a 50% upside from the current levels.
Sandeep, I want to get you in on some of these names. IGL, for instance, which actually gained quite a bit in the last few trading sessions.
Well, the weekly charts are quite promising. That at level of 290, a very clear breakout has come, and that too with great volumes, one of the highest volumes ever witnessed in the last few quarters, I would say. So nearer that level, maybe from the current level of 301 down to 290, 293, that is a clear buying range. I would take a stop loss of say 284, 285. And I would see traction up to at least 330, 335. So a very clear 8 to 10% upside over the next few weeks.
Okay. So that, was a view on some of the newsmakers. One stock, actually, we spoke about how the consumption basket started to correct. And Sandeep, a quick one really on a Jubilant FoodWorks. I mean, that coupled with what happened to a Jyoti Labs, or for that matter, a couple of other consumption stocks fell in Friday's session. How does Jubilant Food look on the charts?
Well, Neeraj, this is the way this kind of stocks move. Jubilant moved from 1020 to 1300 just in a span of 2 or 3 weeks, and now the correction has started. Immediately, if you ask of the next few days, I would talk of a level of 1100 being broken at a current level of 1148 or so. I would talk of a target of 1080, 1070. More comfortable selling in the range of a little higher, say around 1180 to 1200, keep a stop loss of 1220 and play for a target of 1080 to 1070.